Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This video took a little bit longer than expected. Towards the end of last year, 2024, I took a trip to Portugal for 10 days. Shot a lot of film while I was there, shot a lot of video, and when I got home to Ireland, it was really a mammoth task to try and sit down and go through all the footage and put a video together. So I kept putting it off, and here we are 3 months later, but finally pulled the finger out and I've started to work through the footage. I'd originally planned to make one video from the trip to Portugal, but it was turning into such a kind of mammoth task that I've eventually decided to break it up into 2 videos. Today's video is the first part of the trip, which is in Lisbon. Really nice city, really liked it there. I brought 2 cameras with me on this trip. The first camera is my trusty Canon EOS 500. This wouldn't really be a sought after film camera, but it's just such an easy camera to use that I end up using it quite a lot these days. It's really cheap. I think the body of this camera cost me something like €70. The lens I'm shooting on, the 35mm f2, it's the unstabilized version of this lens. I think it cost me something like €120, I think, so in around €200. And you just have a really reliable, easy to use camera. I just set it into aperture priority mode. It always nails exposure. It always nails focus. It's really light. I can sling it around my shoulder, walk around all day, causes me no issues. So yeah, it's a camera that I'm really enjoy shooting on. Really enjoying the results I'm getting with it too. Second camera I used is a digital camera. This is the Sigma DP1 Merle. As we all know, the price of film, especially colour film, just keeps going up and up, which has led me to try and explore some digital alternatives to colour film, and that's what led me to this camera. This camera has a lot of cons, a lot of negatives. It's got no viewfinder for a start, which is a big negative for me. I enjoy the experience of using a viewfinder. I don't enjoy shooting with my camera out here as much. It's also got really poor dynamic range, like really poor dynamic range. You have to underexpose a lot in order to protect your highlights, and that's something I really noticed in Portugal, where it's very sunny. I was having to underexpose by a stop, sometimes even 2 stops, just in the hope that I don't blow out my highlights. The autofocus isn't great on this camera. It's quite slow, has the tendency to hunt. It's also hard to tell from the back LCD screen whether you're in focus or not. It's not that big an issue for me. I'm usually not in that much of a hurry when I'm taking photos, but I do have a couple of pictures that missed focus. Again, it's disappointing. This camera can also only really be used at its base 100 ISO. Anything above that introduces a lot of grain. The colours start to go a bit wonky. So it's definitely not a low light camera. But again, Portugal, it's quite sunny, lots of light, so it wasn't that big an issue for me over there. So all that said, why do I have this camera and why did I bring it to Portugal? There's one reason and one reason only, and that's the way that it renders photos. When it hits, and I'll put a big caveat on the when it hits there, because it doesn't always hit, but when it does, the images that this camera can produce is just unlike anything I've ever seen from a film or digital camera. The amount of detail that it can resolve, the colours that it can produce, and when this camera hits, it's hands down my favourite camera to use. But in order to get the maximum from this camera, it does like certain conditions, and that's something I'm still learning. I'll probably talk about this camera more in some future videos, but I'm glad I took it with me to Portugal. It did capture some really nice images, but I've probably talked enough technical details now. I'll just let the video roll, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. That's everything from the first part of this trip. Yeah, I hope you can join me for the second part of this video, where I travel from Lisbon to Portugal, spending a few days in the wine district of Douro Valley. But yeah, that's everything, guys. Thanks for watching.